On behalf of Escambia County Building Services and the Home Builders Association, I want to welcome everybody here today. And you're in the right place if you're wanting to find out about hiring a contractor. And we're just kind of going to wing it. I'm going to go through a little presentation on hiring a contractor. It's very short and very simple, just to get the ball rolling. We do have several people we got Santa Rosa County here, myself from Escambia, and my aide Jennifer. We have some people from the state. So rather than go down the list, I might just start here and introduce yourself and what you do, Sonny.
Sonny Northrop, Development Review Supervisor for Building Inspection for Santa Rosa County.
I'm Jennifer Tilden, the Administrative Operations Manager for Santa Rosa County.
I'm Tracy Kershinger. I'm Contractor Licensing for Santa Rosa County.
Tambry Lee, Building Official, Santa Rosa County.
Nobody.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
Trip Maygarden. I'm a real estate attorney with Moorhead Law Group.
You do it.
Yeah. I'm Jennifer Hampton, the Supervisor of Licensing and Permitting.
I'm Melissa Reber. I'm the investigator for Escambia County Building Services Licensing.
Donna Myrick with DBPR, investigator.
Denise Rousseau, Investigation Supervisor, DBPR.
Scott Bickle, Investigator, DBPR, Pensacola Office.
I think that's everyone.
We got the boss.
Oh.
My name is Chris Lee. I'll tell you the acronym is Business and Professional Regulation. So
DBPR, that's right.
we try to oversee licensing and regulate contractors for the most part, amongst all kinds of other stuff. So,
The Department of Business and Professional Regulation.
The name?
Oh, all their names? Oh, Lord.
Donna, Denise, Scott, and Chris. Three of them are local. I'm out of Tallahassee.
You're out of Tallahassee.
Yes, sir.
Your name?
Chris.
One more.
Oh,
I work with the county attorney's office. I'm Christy Hankins. I'm an advisor to the CCB board. Thank you.
all right. So, we'll give this short presentation, get going. We're going to talk about, for example, what does it mean to be a licensed contractor in Florida? Different types of licenses in Florida. How to identify a contractor's license in Florida. I'm not used to using that. How to verify a contractor's license is active. And as an owner, can I be my own contractor? We're going to cover that. And we're going to be sticking with construction contracting, those contractors, which is in Florida Statutes 489, Part 1. There is some other contractors in that statute, but we're going to stick with the construction contractors. What does it mean to be a licensed contractor in Florida? Florida Statutes 489, 105, it subdivides the contractors. We have Division 1 and Division 2 contractors. Division 1 contractors are your general contractor, building contractor, and residential contractor. Those are Division 1. They're typically your main contractor, your primary. And then everyone else is a Division 2 contractor. And some examples of that are like electrical, plumbing, mechanical, roofing. There's some specialty contractors as well. There's a long list of those. If you want to know what a contractor's license looks like and some of the features and information on it, that's right off of DBPR's website. And this would be a state certified contractor, but where it says certified, if they're registered, locally licensed but registered with the state, it would say registered. If you want to look up a contractor, you'd go to myfloridalicense.com and you can search by name. you can search by license number if you know it, city or county, or type. But I can tell you, you can put too much information and not get anything. So the less information, the better, and you might have to go through a few names and different contractors to find what you need to find. Okay, this is one that we've added this slide, and this is very important information if you have decided on a contractor. This is information that you need to know in 489-126. If you've paid the contractor up front any funds, and if you've paid over 10% of the contract price up front, that contractor has 30 days to apply for permits. 30 days to apply for permits from when that money was received. Also, after he gets the permit, he has 90 days to start the project. That only applies if you have paid over 10% of the contract price up front. And there's a few more stipulations in that statute, but that's basically what you start with. That's important information. Okay, can I do it myself? You can, as a homeowner. You have to be the owner of the property, for example, and it is an exception to the requirement for being a contractor. One of those exceptions is you can be the homeowner and you can pull your own permit and act as your contractor. One of those stipulations is it cannot be for sale or lease. It's got to be for your own use. And you must personally appear, sign the permit application. We have had some folks that have been in a state up north that are building a house down here for a vacation home, which is fine. And they just didn't want to come down and sign the permit application. But the statute says you sign it. For a single-family residence, there's no limit to how much it costs, but if you can do a commercial building, if it doesn't exceed $75,000, the commercial building, that's not much of a commercial building, but you can do that. And all the notice of commencement requirements in Florida Statute 713 apply, even if you are an owner-builder. You will have to go through and sign an owner-builder disclosure, and there's 12 items that you have to read, and you have to acknowledge that you've read them, and that's one. That's number 8 of the 12. And that basically says if you hire someone, for example, you hire someone to do your electrical, wire your house, and he works for M&M Electric, but he's not a licensed electrician. That's okay, you can do that, but he has to be an employee of yours, a regular, full-fledged employee, not a W-9 contract. They have to be an employee of yours. So you can either do it yourself, make them an employee, or hire a licensed contractor, hire a licensed electrician. And a lot of people don't know that. Any questions about that?
Is everything that you discussed here good in Santa Rosa County, Judge?
Yes, yes. That's mainly state requirements.
Davis is going to take the mic from you so he can go to the audience with it.
Okay. You want? I guess we can open it up too. Do you want to go over contracts, Andy, or do you want to just take questions?
I'm more than happy to take questions. If somebody's got some concerns, I'll answer them.
I guess we'll go, whatever the question is, we'll just determine who's the best to answer it.
One thing I would say, you talked about 489. If you're not careful, you can waive that by contract. So before you go willy-nilly drafting your own contracts, you should probably consider things like that. This is not meant to be a shameless plug. It's a lot cheaper to hire an attorney to negotiate a contract than to sue somebody. So if you have questions at that stage of the game, before you sign the contract, you might want to engage somebody, pay them a couple $100, pay them a little bit more to make sure you're protected, rather than getting fleeced, spending tens of thousands of dollars and maybe getting, 10 cents on the dollar if you're lucky. So nobody likes attorneys. We're paying them money. I recognize that. But it may be a pay me now, pay me later sort of thing. So you'd be best off doing it on the front end if you
All right, and I'll walk around with the microphone. This is being recorded, by the way, so when we speak in the microphone, it can be picked up on the recording.
Okay.
So, anyone?
Anybody have a question?
I don't need a mic. I got a good voice. You said you can't W-9, but how do you make them an employee? Can you go through a payroll agency and make them an employee? Through an LLC of yourself? I mean, what's the answer to that?
I'm not an expert on that, but
I'm a real estate attorney, but yeah, I assume you can, but then you're gonna have all the obligations with any other employee, yeah, and I don't know why you would voluntarily assume that liability, unless you just got it for punishment. That's kind of what it was.
Well, he said you gotta make them an employee.
this is the requirement.
That you sub.
The statute requires you have to withhold their FICA taxes, and you're supposed to provide them with workers' comp.
Yeah, that's right. Any person working on my building who is not licensed must work under my direct supervision and must be employed by me, which means that they must comply with the laws requiring withholding of federal income tax, Social Security, workers' comp, all that, just like a normal employee is. If you've ever done payroll on employees, for example.
Does that include a relative?
If the work's free, it doesn't apply.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Hi. I'm going to be brave and try to speak up. You said that if you give them more than 10%, they have 30 days to pull the permit?
Yes, ma'am.
And then after that, they have 90 days to start the project? And if they don't start the project after 90 days, what happens? What do you do then?
Then that's the rest of the story of that statute, and you have to, Christy, you want to chime in on that? Okay. I do know you have to make a demand of a refund, or maybe, I know that you have to make a demand of a refund if you want the refund. But it has to be in writing. And I don't know, and one of the attorneys may chime in on this. I don't know if you have to demand them to finish the project or start the project. I think there is a written demand that has to be made.
If memory serves me correctly, it reads in the alternative, you have to make a written demand, and it's a demand to start or refund the money. There's some other provision of that. So it uses the word or, so taking it at face value, you could do either.
Can I have the mic?
If that's the case, then Escambia County and Santa Rosa County should go after every Generac dealership, because they demand 50% up front before they even put your name on a list. And they could have you waiting 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months before they even bring a piece of equipment to your lot. They won't even take your name down for a generator.
And I'm assuming they have a qualifier. Generac probably has a local qualifier for their.
A qualifier for what?
Yeah, they'd be the licensed contractor.
Well, but they don't start the work. They don't bring it. They just want your money.
But what I'm saying, that's who you would have to hold accountable, is the qualifier for.
Well, to me, anybody that uses Generac, and this is just a personal vendetta against them, but Generac has 80% of the business in the country, and they control 80% of the business, and they demand 50% up front, and they make their living off of disasters. And people want to get a whole house generator, and they basically hold people hostage.
I would advise whoever that happens to file a complaint.
I did, because as a veteran, I had a grant to get a generator, and because the VA won't hold and pay a contractor anything up front, and they said they don't care. They don't like working with the VA. And the VA, I couldn't even pay for it and then reimburse them because they won't pay me. And their dealerships didn't care. But Generac, as a corporation in Wisconsin, probably sells billions of dollars worth of generators to the government. So I'm just saying, they want 50% up front. And if you listen to any state government official, they tell you, do not pay anybody 50% up front, or pay contractors up front in general. But they get it.
I would tell you to be concerned with that.
Yeah, because they can go bankrupt too and go out of business. They say they can't, they don't, but they could.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Take a quick break.
Okay. We want to take a quick break, probably 5 minutes.
We're gonna bring up the statute on the board.
Okay.
Discuss it.
Okay. And we'll get started back in just a second. We got to take care of some business first.
Thank you. Just
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So, just to let you know, what the statute that Tim was talking about is up here, and I've highlighted it for you, about the demand portion section. It says that basically the contractee, which is the homeowner, property owner, must make a written demand to the contractor in the form of a letter that includes a demand to apply for the necessary permits, to start the work, or to refund the payment sent via certified mail, return receipt requested, mailed to the address listed in the contracting agreement. If there is no address for the contractor listed in the agreement, or no written agreement exists, the contracting must mail a written demand letter to the address listed for the licensing purposes with the department or the local construction industry licensing board if applicable. So, just to give you a rundown, because I know there was some question about the demand letter.
Christy, are you good? Can we keep going? Okay. Yeah. Someone had a question? Okay.
Hang on, let me bring the mic. I'm gonna bring the mic to you. Who, Tracy? Thank you, sir.
I want to ask a little bit about the 10% up front. I'm supposing I sign a contract with a contractor and we know that the start time is going to be quite a ways away, but we want to go ahead and sign a contract with that contractor. In best practices, do contractors typically require at least a percentage upfront as an earnest?
Yeah.
It would probably be less than 10%, but maybe 5% or something like that.
I may not be the one to ask that question because it's been a long time since I was not in the regulation of codes, but in the construction industry in that form. And typically, back then, you didn't pay anything up front. You paid in draws. The owner would pay in draws, or the bank would pay in draws. But it seems like it's more common nowadays. But I believe I would. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe if you've worked out for whatever reason it's going to take longer to pull permits. I think that's perfectly fine. And I don't think he will be in violation as long as maybe in the contract that's covered.
Yeah, if it's covered in the contract. If the contract contemplates a delay of some sort, he's not going to be in violation. I mean, if you agree to it, it's fundamentally unfair to say, I contracted for you to have a 120-day delay, but you had to start in 30 days. So that's not how it's going to work. As to the question about money down, I don't think it's unusual to put money down. What's unusual, and it speaks to this gentleman's concern, putting 50% down up front is completely unnecessary. These contractors, subcontractors, material men, they all have the protection of Florida lien law. They can record a lien against your house. They can foreclose it, just like a mortgage lender could. So they shouldn't have a pressing need to take 50, 60% down unless they're going to abscond with your money. So if somebody starts to demand more than 10%, maybe a little bit more, I mean, there's some play in the joints with this stuff. It's not a hard, fast science. But somebody wants 25, 35, 45% down, that's a huge red flag as far as I'm concerned. They may need money to get the project started. That stands to reason. Things cost money for contractors too. But 50% seems pretty excessive. I wish I could negotiate that deal, for whatever it's worth.
They're using your money.
That's exactly what they're doing.
You're right.
Yeah, my thought with that was signing a contract with a contractor that already has a pile of work in front of them, and you just want to be the next one, and it's not going to be anytime soon, but you want to get on the list.
Yeah, you can do that. That's.
You keep in mind, he has to pull a permit within 30 days of that. So you could, I don't know why you would have to pay money up front. You know, now when you get within the 30 days of him starting, maybe pay it up front. I don't know why you would have to pay it immediately up front.
Is there some kind of a privacy thing to keep you from checking to see if he's pulled the permit?
No, it's a public record.
I just would like for the attorney to speak to that no refund thing.
Sorry, what's your question about the no refund?
Many of our contracts had a no refund clause in it.
Well, good luck enforcing that. I mean, if you don't do the work and you steal somebody's money, good luck
What would you
enforcing
say to
it.
somebody, though, to sign something like that? Don't sign it?
I wouldn't sign it, by no means. But if you did, I think it's going to be hard to make the argument that I signed somebody up, told them to pay me $50,000 in advance, no refund, I didn't do anything. I wouldn't want to try to sell that to a judge or a jury. You know, so.
Can you explain the difference between certified contractor and registered contractor, and who's the licensing authority for each?
Yes, a state certified contractor is licensed by the state and is tested to become a state certified contractor. They can work anywhere in the state. A registered contractor is a locally licensed contractor that is tested in accordance with the local requirements, gets a competency card, for example, from Escambia County, and he or she registers that with the state. They register their local license with the state.
So they can only do local work?
Well, no, yeah, basically. And for example, we have reciprocity with Santa Rosa, Okaloosa. In other words, if you meet the same requirements, if you were licensed in Santa Rosa and you meet the same requirements for Escambia, you can be licensed in Escambia.
How does that work if you get an out-of-state contractor, say from Louisiana, Louisiana?
They have to be licensed either with the state or the local jurisdiction.
This jurisdiction?
Yes.
Escambia County the state of Florida doesn't allow for reciprocity from outside states, so they would have to become licensed within the local jurisdiction or within the state.
Theoretically, registered general contractor, your skills and knowledge are the same as a state certified general contractor. Only difference is state certified can work in 72 counties. The registered contractor can work in the county in which he is registered, or reciprocity in neighboring county.
Okay. If you have a contractor, back to my first question, I'm sorry, and you've given him the 10% and he has pulled a permit and he's just done a little bit of the work, what recourse do you have after that? Just a little bit.
That would be beyond the, for example, the permitting agency's purview.
Well, a couple things. One, you'd have to read your contract. I mean, you should have some sort of cause of action if they don't timely complete the work. I mean, they're paid by the milestone. If they don't reach the milestone, they're arguably in breach of contract, number one. Number two, if they altogether abandon the job, then they have abandoned the job. That may be grounds for terminating them. You have some remedies, I think, under this statute or others if they don't do work for 90 continuous days or something to that effect. So the long and short of it is, look at Chapter 489. That may be instructive, but your contract should contemplate that. I mean, ideally, they're supposed to start work, continue working diligently toward completion of the project. Now, I know that's not how construction projects always turn out. I get it. But within reasonable parameters, they should start work and then diligently prosecute the work until they're complete.
Just to add to that a little bit, your permit is good for 6 months without any action. Every time you have some action, which would be maybe calling for an inspection, your 6 months will start over. You can ask for extensions if you have your permit's expired, but you got to do it in writing, and you got to have good cause. It's usually not too hard to get a 90-day extension, but it's good for 6 months without any action. But an inspection, for example, will start to 6 months again.
My office that I work with across 4 different offices in North Florida, investigators face a lot of decisions and discussions with homeowners. The problem is, if you read the statute, it says, hasn't performed any such work. So then the question is, what is work? So you brought up they started some, they did some work, and then they hadn't been back. Well, what is the work? Did somebody come out at some point in time and maybe do something? They may have shown up on the job for a couple hours. In your mind, it's not work. In their mind, it was work. So it's very difficult when you start wondering where the guy is. How much work is he going to do? Is he showing back up, etc.? So it's difficult the way the statutes are written, because work is a very general term. So how do you define work versus was it not work or was it work? So it's difficult.
Can I ask Chris a question?
Sure.
Chris,
there you go.
If I had a scenario where
You say Christy?
Chris.
Oh.
Yeah. If I had a scenario where Santa Rosa County found a contractor willfully guilty of not pulling a contract to build something, and I filed a complaint with you, and they took away his license for a year, why wouldn't you take away his license also?
What type of contractor is he?
General contractor.
Is he registered or is he state certified?
I believe he is registered and registered.
Well, it depends on if that local county has their own disciplinary board. They discipline their license holders. Once they discipline their license holders, they notify our department of that disciplinary action. But since it's a registered contractor, the local disciplinary board disciplines that contractor, not DBPR. Now, if they take away...
So you're going to let him go do damage to other homeowners in the state instead of just Santa Rosa County?
We aren't going to let them do anything. Here's the issue. If they take away his registered license, competency card essentially, they notify us. And at some point in time, once we get that final order that that license has been revoked, they will have terminology that will say, DBPR, please take away that license. When we say registered license, essentially all that is the local board and the contractor registering that license with our department. So if we're out somewhere in the field across the 72 counties, if we don't see that he has a state certified license, we will see that he actually has a local registered license, but they are disciplined by their local disciplinary board.
So what are you going to do then? You're going to take away his license?
Well, keep in mind
it's not the state certified license, it's the local license.
Keep in mind that locally licensed contractor can't go throughout the state and pull permits because he's not licensed in any other jurisdiction.
All right, here's your letter. Why does it say case closed, but you got a civil case?
I can't comment on that. You're showing me a letter. I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, when I filed the complaint, it took a year.
Okay.
1 year for the DBPR to investigate it.
I'm not surprised. We've had 2 or 3 hurricanes up here.
You know, they gave me that excuse as I waited the year that I was waiting on Mexico.
All right.
And I understand that you're busy. but the homeowner then waited a year. That was me. In fact, one.
That's fine.
What?
They're requesting that y'all get together after the meeting so y'all can have a more
That's a good idea.
singular discussion.
Well, this does involve the DBPNR because the DBPNR involves the recourse of getting money back that I've lost, the same as everybody else here has lost money. Because that prevents me from activating the recovery fund, just like everybody else here has been denied of activating the recovery fund. Because there's two ways to activate the recovery fund. One way is for the DBPNR to say, you can go ahead and file a civil suit. The civil suit costs $20,000 to $30,000 for a homeowner, in most cases, to get an attorney to go activate the civil suit. Well, most of us don't have a spare $20,000, $30,000 to go to activate the civil suit, and hopefully we get that $20,000 or $30,000 back from a judge if the contractor would even have the money. But as you all know, they're going to go bankrupt. So the court would have to award you the thing to go and get the money from the DBPNR funds, from the funds that they have available from the fund that they have. So it's the same thing. I'm just doing it differently because I had a wall, a conservation easement wall that's worth $35,000 to $50,000 that the contractor didn't get a permit to build and built it wrong. And then several other $1,000. So I'm out $70,000, just like you're all out money. And I'm trying to recover that money through the DBPNR.
So Chris, why don't you go ahead and explain the recovery fund? So a lot of people probably here would like to hear about the recovery
it's all
fund.
about the recovery fund.
Well, we're
So
gonna-
if you send me, Chris, to say you got a civil suit and don't take action, by you not taking action as a DBPNR against that contractor and say, but you got a civil suit, that relieves you of the obligation and puts puts it right back to the homeowner again to go ahead and take action. And you haven't helped me one bit. When it was really your facility that should have taken action instead of saying case closed, you know, and saying, oh, our hands are clean. We gave him a license and he screwed up, and Santa Rosa County said guilty. You said not guilty, and we can't tell you why. You said case closed. By the way, we won't tell you why we closed the case, but you got a civil case. So here I'm sitting looking at a brand new house. Contractor did not get a permit like he should have by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Didn't get a permit. And then you send me and say a letter saying case closed. You say, oh, you got a civil case. And then you say there's no money available. I get to talk to the Attorney General's office. Oh, there's no money to pay you. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Is this gentleman a registered contractor?
I believe he is.
Okay. The local board took action and took his license.
Right, and
Now-
they sent it to you, hoping that you would take his license, so maybe he was a general contractor.
Well, he's just
He
registered.
wouldn't take his license because the county is the one that had his competency card. They took his license.
Wait.
Okay?
Excuse me just a second. I believe Santa Rosa is present, and this is a Santa Rosa County
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah, and also, I'm sure y'all can get together after this and
comes-
work it out.
Yeah, it comes back to the money issue and why he wouldn't lose his license through the state. Am I right, Tracy?
This is an individual case though, so that contractor is actually a certified contractor. All we did was suspend the license for Santa Rosa County based on the failure to pull the permits. But this needs to be discussed outside of this
Yeah.
meeting because there's other issues here.
So they pulled his permitting privileges. is
We
what
did
they
pull the
done.
permitting privileges, and we recommended action to DBPR, but that's where we stopped.
So that's a discussion for later.
Yeah, sounds like there's a lot more to this than.
Yeah, and I have no idea about the terms and conditions issues.
Yeah, it's not fair to ask him all this.
I kind of get that, but I got some other things here we can discuss too.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to know the website for the permit, like on the which website is it for the Florida or for the Escambia County?
For permit pulled in Escambia County?
Like if there's a status open permit or like closed permit or the status of permits and stuff. Like,
So you can always create a customer portal on mygovernmentonline.org. In that customer portal, you can search any address to see open and active permitting, even closed permits. You can look at the complete history of an address's permitting.
Yeah, that's My Government Online portal, but it's for Escambia County.
Actually, Santa Rosa County and City of Pensacola have migrated to mygovernmentonline.org, and you can select their jurisdiction.
Can you see pending permits?
You can see permits that have been applied for and not issued. They have a pending status.
Is it true that some jobs don't need a permit?
Sure, there's work that does not need permitting, absolutely. Flat work, for example, driveways. There's a lot of work that does not require a building permit.
We've had a lot of we've had a lot of high profile cases lately in the news, including some arrests made and so on and so forth. What is the line where the remedy goes from civil to criminal?
Oh, I have no idea. Want to try that?
Civil attorney. I will tell you, Chapter 713 and Chapter 489 both contain criminal components. I can't give you chapter and verse because that's not what I do. I can tell you, as a practical matter, the state's attorney's office has a lot of things to do. Their primary task, for reasons you probably understand, is tracking down rapists, robbers, and murderers. They will likely get to your case, but they may also tell you that you need to go seek your civil remedies. If you make enough noise, they may take your case up, but this is, I guess, a long way of telling you I would not bank on your contractor getting arrested unless it's pretty flagrant, as these recent cases appear to have been, without making any commentary. If it's a close call, though, you're going to be hiring a lawyer and taking them to court. It's got to be a clear case of conversion or theft or misappropriation or something like, it's got to be white-collar crime, not I contracted to do something and didn't do it. It's got to be very clear on its face. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but that's the way it is, because I can tell you, there's criminal courthouses, it's not what I do, but I know they're packed all day, every day. So it's not for lack of wanting to help out, it's just lack of capacity more than anything else.
The cases that I'm referring to are those that are blatant where money was taken and no work was ever done. So that's fraud, whatever.
If you'll get with me after, I can cite you statutes that will address that concern. But again, a charging decision is going to be left up to the state attorney's office. Maybe you can persuade them to take up the cause, maybe not.
So
I'd be happy to point you in the right direction.
Doesn't it take enough people to get mad enough to make a change?
So we get cases where we work mostly administrative investigations, violations of 489, but typically with unlicensed contracting cases and some licensed contracting cases, we see where they've taken a bunch of money, no work is done, no permits are pulled, it's been a year, right? So we will collaborate with law enforcement in the county, so Escambia County Sheriff's Office, also the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services at the state level. They can do criminal investigations for theft, things of that nature. So we'll collaborate with them, and there have been times where we referred quite a few cases to them for criminal prosecution.
So would you say start with you first?
You could, and we'll look at it, see what we think, and then we will let you know if we're going to talk to Escambia County Sheriff's Office or whatever jurisdiction you live in. We're going to go to that local law enforcement agency and talk to them about it. Sometimes they'll take it on. Sometimes it's not sexy enough for them to take on, and they won't take it on, and we'll have to find another route. But we do collaborate quite actively with local law enforcement agencies.
If you look at 489-126 Florida statute. That's where you'll find most, if it does go criminal. The last paragraph of 489-126 says that if you are actually found guilty of that, it falls under Florida Statute 812, which is criminal charges.
How many people is the DNR found guilty this year? Last 12 months.
I mean, that's not a fair question for him. He doesn't know that.
Does anybody here?
I can tell you the last time I got with Bay County State Attorney's Office after Hurricane Michael, we, along with us and their office, there was approaching 400 felony charges of either unlicensed contracting or fraud or theft by licensed contractors.
Was that from out of state or in-state contractors that came in?
That's who was charged throughout this state attorney's office, District 14.
Got another question.
Okay. So my question is, how does DBPR get the information from the counties and make it available to the homeowners?
Jennifer, you want to? I can tell you, we immediately send the results to DBPR.
Are you talking about a final order or a complaint or?
Thank you. On the DBPR website, you can check the status of a license and you can check for complaints. Those are two things that you're looking for when you go to check up on a contractor. If I go and I look and it says that the status is active and there are no complaints, how long does it take to get that information displaying at the DBPR level for local contractors?
Okay, so once a final order is issued by the Escambia County Contractor Competency Board, it is immediately forwarded over to the Department of Business and Professional Regulation for their review. Once they receive it, Ms. Denise, you want to talk about how long it?
Or do you?
What we have to do is once we receive that information, we have to notify that same contractor that we now have information regarding the revocation of their license. Let's just say that happened. Then we have to do a quick investigative report, forward it upstairs to our board, and then they review it from there. Keep in mind, there is usually, is it a 60-day appeal period?
That's what I heard. I've heard that.
See, you know, let's say a local agency takes licenses. These guys have 60 days to file an appeal. So, you know, there's a time period that.
So you don't show pending complaints?
If I complain about a contractor,
oh, no.
does it show up there?
No. Matter of fact, if there's a licensed contractor and our board has not found what we call probable cause to issue what is an administrative complaint, we can't discuss it with the public.
But you just said that that's on the county, and the county has let you know that they've taken action on a contractor's license.
I understand that, but there's also an appeal process which kind of slows our process down. So, you know, they've already taken action against their local contractor, revoked it, etc. Now what we're going to have to do is go through our process to take it out of our system. So I can't tell you really a definitive day and how long that's going to take.
Yeah, but you're giving the contractor months. First, you got 6 months to clear the air.
Well, keep in mind that he can't pull any permits without. He's a locally licensed contractor, and if his competency card has been revoked, his local license is revoked, he can't pull any permits.
But you're all giving them too much time.
All I can tell you is he can't pull any permits. I mean, anybody can sign a contract.
And sir, here, we take their license, right? Let's say they're revoked. We can't physically prevent them from going out and continuing to enter into contracts. I mean, we can't do that.
I agree with that, but when I call DBPR, it says this is who I call to check up on someone's license. if that license has been revoked at this county, then it should be visible to all of these homeowners.
That's right. All I could tell you is we get notified that action has been taken. Let's just say it's been revoked, okay? Now we have to go back through a legal process based on what statute says and tell these people we are now going to process it from a DBPR state level.
So what she's saying is the license shown still active during that process?
Yes. And no complaint.
Yeah.
And no complaint. It's just like, what about a Florida Department of Environmental Protection fine against a contractor?
I can't answer that question. I don't work with that agency.
I'm just saying, does that agency, say a wetland is destroyed?
I can't answer that question. You'd have to ask that agency that.
Well, if you're building on a wetland as a contractor, right? You're building there. You've got rules in the DBPNR building next to a wetland. It's written in your DBPNR rules. The county has rules about building on a wetland. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection has rules about building on a wetland. If they violate as a contractor, violate the rules, they get fined by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. You would think that those violations would show up on their license. But you shrug your shoulders, but doesn't that sound logical?
We process our information based on statutory law.
Well, it's statutory law for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to find somebody if they destroy the wetlands.
Okay.
Okay, and it's also statutory that you have in your Florida Department of Environmental Protection or in the DBPNR rules about working next to a wetland. It's written down, I've read it. And it's written down by the county, and it's written down by the state, and everything. So I'm saying, if they get fined for destroying a piece of the wetland, why doesn't that get put on their record? It should be on their record. They're destroying a piece of wetland. So that should go on their record. That's important to everybody here and around the state.
We got some other people want to ask some questions.
Well, I think mine is just going to be a statement. The young man that's up there, that's an attorney, I think the first thing he said was, it might be to your advantage to invest a couple of $100 with an attorney that can look at all of these things. We are amateurs. We don't know what we are doing. But if we're having a problem and we retain an attorney, then it would be up to him to follow through these statutes that we don't really understand.
Yeah, I mean, if you hire an attorney to help you prepare a contract, he or she should prepare a contract that favors you as the homeowner. Now, having said that, there's probably going to be some back and forth and some negotiation. It might be kind of neutral. But even if you do that, ultimately, it will depend upon you to enforce that contract. Now, you may hire the same attorney to take the guy to court, but even if you hire an attorney and they can draft a contract that will protect you if you stay on top of things, right? If you make sure your contractor meets the milestones he or she is supposed to meet in a timely fashion, and if not, it's going to be up to you to either grieve them with the DBPR or take them to civil court, and like I said, in more egregious circumstances, maybe criminal court. But what I was getting at is you can rest assured that most contractors are using a contract that was prepared by an attorney. Even if they didn't hire it, even if they didn't engage the attorney, they got it from a buddy of theirs at the bar or whatever that did get one. So if you don't get an attorney or you don't have somebody knowledgeable look at it, you're kind of asking for it. It's really not fair for you, as you said, as a layperson. So that's just my 2 cents. But I do want to emphasize, even once the contract is executed, it's in play, you still got to stay on top of things. You got to make sure they do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it. You got to make sure you don't waive any contractual rights through your words or through your conduct, which is all possible. The best way to do that is to speak in detail with the attorney, and even though it's difficult, read the contract yourself. At least be familiar with the basic milestones that have to be met for payment and things of that nature. Don't slumber on your rights, I guess is what I'm saying.
The gentleman mentioned a little bit ago that if he or she if they're in trouble
they would not be able to pull the permit. And even I, as a homeowner, have had people want to do work for us and ask us if we would go pull the permit. And that is a big red flag right there. So that's one of the first things you can be worried about. If they can't pull the permit, you have to ask yourself why.
Very good advice.
Yes.
Very good.
Anyone else? Look for hands.
What I'm asking about is deals with the Escambia County. My contractor, and I brought my contract with me, has violated everything that we've talked about tonight. And he did it in writing on the contract. So how come this guy's not in jail? I mean, if he violates it and puts it in writing, who do I go to? Who do I need to go talk to?
Well, keep in mind, have you filed a complaint with?
I haven't. Who do I see?
You can file a complaint with us. Melissa Reber, hold your hand up, Melissa.
I'd like to see you.
She'll be happy to help you. But keep in mind, we're not law enforcement. The board can act on his license, and that's all.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. You know, and from what I have read, and this is the first thing that I ever contracted in my whole life, and I guess I was ignorant. I didn't know what I was looking at, what I was doing, and I signed this stupid thing. And now I found out I'm not the only one. You go and look at the reviews online, and this guy's, he's done everybody in Pensacola that he can get a hold of. And
is this a registered contractor
I-
or state certified?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
So, and I'll go over that real quick, how you can tell. Typically for a state certified license, unless they are electrical, you will see 3 letters at the beginning of their license number. If it is a local license, one that we have issued through my licensing division, it'll have 2 letters. So keep that in mind when you're looking at it. You want to ask them to see.
State is 3 letters?
Yes, sir.
And local is 2?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I
No, you're
just wanna
fine.
Make sure.
You're fine.
I'll stop them when they.
The recovery fund, does the state of Florida require licensed contractors to have that signed, a write-up signed if we're doing work on homeowners' properties? They have to sign the recovery fund that we notified them that is available for them?
That is a Florida statute requirement that it be included in your contract, that verbiage from the Florida statute. Mm-hmm.
What's the percentage on that fund that they take over each license? Is it 0.06 something %?
That money comes from county permit fees.
Yeah, the permit fees, right? And what percentage is it?
I couldn't tell you. There's X number of dollars given to the fund per contract, per permit.
You got somebody that.
Yeah, the young lady over here asked about the website where you go to check on the status of a contractor's license and if there are any complaints against them, and you have the process that you have to go through, of course, before you can put anything on there. Is there any place that everyone can go that is updated earlier than that? A different website, a different place that they can go and look that might be updated before yours is?
Better Business Bureau? It's the only thing I can think of.
I don't think so. I mean, there might be, possibly get maybe information from the county level, but.
And that's what I was about to say. We always encourage citizens to give us a call, send us an email. We can verify their local license like that. So if you ever have concerns or questions about any license, we can assist you with that.
Keep in mind, our investigative staff, along with the administrative statutes, we have to follow those statutes. If the county revokes or takes a license, and then we turn around and take a license, let's just say we could do it the next day. That does not prevent this guy or lady from continuing to go out and presenting themselves as a contractor and taking money. So, you know, we try to get to things and processes as fast as we can. But from a legal standpoint, a lot of times that takes a lot more time than, you know, people like to see.
And we understand that your hands are
And
tied
that's
on
just,
a lot of things. Okay?
just the way it is.
But like the lady asked earlier, if there's a license on the local level that's been revoked and it's been turned over to you, what is a best guess estimate of how long that would take to show up on the website? You say it's 6 months for them to appeal it. It takes what, another 90 days or another 6
They have a
months?
60-day appeal window.
60 days.
60
okay.
days.
Okay.
I mean, listen, we've got a scenario now where we got a couple of final orders. We're going to do a quick notification of these guys from a state level.
Okay.
And we're going to do our report and send it up to the board. And based on the fact that our general counsel, you know, kind of knows what's going on, our board meets monthly. Except, I think, in December. I don't think we meet in December. But the construction board meets monthly, and, you know, they try to get things processed. You know, it could be 30 days, might be 60 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think everybody out here understands that the legal wheels turn very slow at times,
Right.
you know? So I think the question was just, you know, how far behind is the website from reality, I guess was the original question.
Yeah, well, put it this way, if our board meets monthly, then depending on when our complaints get to them and, you know, they put it on the agenda and all that is based on timing as to how quick it can go through the board and they take board action.
Okay.
Is there a reason you don't show pending complaints?
Well, because pending complaints, if they have not gone through the legal process, it's just an allegation. And unless they're found guilty and found with probable cause, 10 days after our board finds probable cause, we will make it public. If we don't find probable cause and dismiss the complaint, we can't discuss it.
A local level for this. So say it's a local
Statute says we
contractor
can't.
that you're looking at and you contact us. If there is a final order against that contractor, it's public record and we can provide that to any citizen that's, you know, wants to know what's going on with a local contractor.
I think the challenge is for homeowners that we're pointed to the DEPR. And I'll ask here, have any of you asked anyone else and been pointed to DEPR? I know we were for our contractor. And our contractor's license showed clear with no complaints. Our contractor is paid off with $40,000 of our money. We have now had our contractor's license revoked, but it's still clear on DEPR. And I don't want any of these people to be taken by our contract.
You're absolutely
Is he a
right. There's
registered
other
guy
ones
or
that show
state
clear
certified?
also.
In this instance, the contractor she's referencing is a registered contractor.
Okay. And when was his license taken?
Santa Rosa County did it last time.
August 10th, and then Escambia was August 11th.
Okay. Well, like I said, we have to present it to our board, and then they gotta go through the
I
process.
understand that, but I know complaints have been at DEPR, and I just want them visible where people can see those complaints.
Okay.
That shouldn't be that hard to do in today's age of modern
If
things.
it's a registered contractor, those complaints went through the local office, whether it's Escambia, Santa Rosa, or not.
Never show it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we don't show it until action has been taken, okay? And then we get notified of whatever it is. So,
I'm not following your process.
No, the process sucks.
I believe due process is what the problem is here. You can't say somebody is something until they've had due process. You cannot say, I'm a criminal until I've had due process. That's just it. You gotta give him 60 days to get his appeals period in. I mean, they can't even move for 60 days. Sorry, y'all. I worked in the government, I understand.
Well, we understand that, but But you know what? There's a certain amount of time that it
We-
should take, and they take too damn long.
We need to,
The
we need to,
process- the
we need to
process-
go through raising your hand,
I know,
ask a
but the
question,
process takes
and
way too
we're gonna,
long,
we're gonna
and
get,
the people are suffering because
we're gonna keep control over this meeting.
Go ahead.
Sir, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I'd just like to build a barn.
Me too.
Thank you.
And if you're in Escambia County, we're happy to help you with that.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I'm a little shy.
I can even tell you how to not to have a permit for one.
Oh.
I'm a little shy, so my voice may be a little shaky, but I'm so sympathetic to the difficulties, and I don't think the problem I have and the reason we're here actually falls into the category of what y'all are talking about. But I have been in my career in IT, and my question is, yes, it would be very nice for everyone to be able to see complaints that have been filed and things that are pending for everyone to be able to see in making a choice, selecting a contractor. And I think that's what the very nice lady's suggesting. And my question is, how can we get that to happen? I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Absolutely not. In fact, we're working on some ideas for the county to bring that forward where it'll be easier to see things like that. We're currently working on that, and it's because of all the everything that's happened.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm coming. I'm running. Get my exercise in, y'all.
Yes, hi. We have some land that we need to have cleared. It's another part of the state here, and just got pine trees on it, and we gotta have it cleared. I mean, what as a home owner of the property, what do we, we're gonna have somebody who knows, machinery and that type of equipment.
Escambia County?
No,
Oh.
it's middle part of the state.
Oh,
and it's just for me, to keep, if something was to happen, to make sure, we're not liable for any injuries that could happen from the operators there.
Well, I mean, what you're describing, we don't regulate. There's not in our county, and I don't think the state either has a license for what you're describing. But I believe if I hired someone to do that, I would make sure they had some general liability and maybe workers' comp on their employees.
You just ask them to.
I should be handing the mic to the attorney.
Always check with the local jurisdiction there for their requirements, because they may have requirements that we don't have.
Okay.
Yeah, but you could draft a contract in such a way that they have to have the right insurance. They should have comp anyway. They should be able to provide you with a certificate of insurance showing what their coverage is and the limits of that coverage. With respect to commercial general liability insurance, you could be named as an additional insured if you wanted, if you negotiated that, obviously. So yeah, make sure they've got insurance, particularly workers' comp.
Department of Finance, Workers' Comp Division also has a website where you can pull that information, whether they have an exemption and see who the exemption is, or if they have insurance coverage.
My experience of looking at the DBPNR licensing, I find that you have to go about 4 clicks back after you look at the license to find anything wrong with the contractor. It would be my recommendation that anything that shows negative should follow the license immediately and not be buried back 3 or 4 levels.
It's my understanding on a local level, like Escambia and Santa Rosa County, if they take action and revoke a license, it's immediately public record. You can go on their website and you will find that that license is revoked.
I'm looking at your website.
Okay, I understand that. But if he's a local license holder, which the Escambia County issued the license, not DBPR, they just registered the local license with our department to let us know, oh, I'm a license holder, but I'm a license holder here or here. If the local disciplinary takes action, as soon as that, like probably the next day, that final order is public information, and you check with the local licensing authority, which would be Escambia or Santa Rosa, and it will say his license is revoked.
Keep in
So
mind,
it's public record almost immediately.
keep in mind the rule of 2 or 3. The 2 letters, you contact us. The 3 letters, you can contact the state.
Oh, I want to ask you a question.
If your inspectors are out in the field and they come upon a local job and it's being done by a registered contractor, where do they go to verify that the contractor is registered? To your website?
Well, when we see a contract, if we go and we ask, let's say, a homeowner who you're under contract with, contracts in Florida are supposed to include the license holder's license number. So when we see the license number, we will know who to go to find out any information on that.
If they're out in the field and they have that number, I'm assuming they go to their cell phone and access a database somewhere. Is
They do
that your own database that you typically would go?
There's a cell phone app that you can pull and access the same.
Which would show that contractor had it as being in no complaints, registered one, even though the local jurisdiction revoked his license up to 70 days prior.
Not made it to state yet, yes. If it's state and complaints are registered with us, or filed with us, then you're gonna see a complaint.
Yeah, but you won't accept a complaint against a registered contractor. You'll write back to the complainant telling them that it's not under your jurisdiction, that they must go back to the ECCB.
It depends.
The ECB, just one second, please. If the ECB has acted under their full power and revoked that license, your website, which your and field inspectors are using to verify that contractor out in the field is legitimate, is incorrect, because the license has been withdrawn by or revoked by the local jurisdiction. But your database that you're relying on is inaccurate. That should bother you, and I'm sure that's not the legislative intent of that law.
Well, and I understand that. Now, listen, we deal with some of that frequently, okay? In the case that we're talking about now, the 2 cases, those licenses were taken on what, the 10th of this month? So here we are 15 days later. Now, I'm sure their revocation probably was on their website on the 11th. And, you know, if they're a local license holder and they're disciplined by their local board, then essentially that's where the homeowner would normally call if they're a license like that. We can't.
Your brochure says to check on complaints of the contractor.
I understand that. Until we get notify it and process it, I understand what you're saying. We're frustrated with it too. But from a government processing basis, we have to go through the steps statutorily and process this. So that's what we're dealing with. Although I know the staff that I work with, and I work with staffs in four offices across North Florida. Been doing this for 30 years. If we're out somewhere and we become aware of a local registered guy that has trouble, we just don't check our license, our database. We call the county. Because when we go out to a job site, we're probably going to say, if we don't see the permit box, we're going to pick up the phone, call Tim's office. Hey, you guys got a permit out here? Do you have this? Do you have that? And if this guy's in trouble, they're going to tell us, hey, wait a minute. That guy's That's one of his jobs. We just finished revoking his license. So it's not that we just don't go out there and look and just say, okay, we're good to go. We ask a lot of questions. We look at permitting and everything.
Unfortunately, the consumer does it. The consumer picks up a brochure and says, if you want to see complaints on the respective contractor, go to the DB.
I got it. And if we're aware of and or have taken action at the state level, once those final orders have been issued, it goes on our website.
Is there a county website that has that information for?
You want to handle that, Jennifer?
Sure. We're currently in the process of developing a dashboard. We had a meeting just this very morning in regard to the ability to access our licensing portal, to be able to see live time to the minute information about licenses. Mm-hmm.
Jennifer,
Hello.
can we get somebody else to do the microphone? Because we want you to pull up our website and show them how we can check it.
Davis, my man, you got it.
In the back.
Okay, I got here a little bit late. So what I'm understanding is, let's say Chris the contractor has taken her for 40 grand in Escambia County. And Chris the contractor has got a Florida license. But now Chris the contractor has been revoked in Escambia County. He's moved on over to Santa Rosa. Now Chris has abandoned Santa Rosa. Well, Chris knows that your information's not public yet, and he's moved on over to Walton County, and so on and so forth. How long does it take from when he loses his license in Escambia County for your website to acknowledge, hey, Chris the contractor over here is a shady character, and he is not allowed to work in Escambia County, and now he's not allowed in Santa Rosa. I mean, technically, he could go all the way across to Jacksonville, one county after another.
Well, keep in mind,
how do we stop those people?
Keep in mind, he's locally licensed, so he can only his license is good in that jurisdiction. He can't go all the way across the state unless he's locally licensed in all the state. And that wouldn't make any sense, because he would want to be a state certified contractor.
Okay.
Hang on.
But
you want to answer that?
The way that process works for reciprocity on licensing is that the jurisdiction where they tested, they have to write a letter to whatever other county these people want to work in, saying what the status of the license is. So they can't just take their local license and go work wherever they want in the state. Not all the counties accept a license, but they have to be given that letter from the county that they licensed in. So if we license somebody in Santa Rosa County and we revoke it, they can't go to Jacksonville and work, because Jacksonville's going to say, hey, Tracy, I need a letter from you telling me what the status of that license is. I'm not giving them a letter, so they're not going to get to work anyplace else. So, I mean, there is a way to stop that from happening. So the questions that you're asking should be addressed by that.
Okay.
Hey, Tim. So, Chris, we were going to let the citizens know how they can see the transcripts and get the information from the meetings done by the Escambia County Contractor Competency Board. So,
Everybody see that?
If you're not familiar with the Escambia County Contractor Competency Board, you can always go on to myescambia.com. In your middle section here, in the blue, there is a icon that says meetings. And you can search, you can look at all meetings that Escambia County holds, their online agendas, their minutes, etc. But for all intents and purposes, we are looking for the Contractor Competency Board. And here you can, of course, click on the online agenda, view the video. Attached to the online agenda is the previous meeting's transcript. So if you want to see if there's a recent history of issues with a contractor, you can always view these transcripts and the videos. You can.
Is that text, full text searchable when
when you search for, like, let's say a person's name Smith, would it pull up all the ones that Smith appears in?
Did you hear that, Jennifer?
So I've navigated to the actual transcript from the last meeting, and I'm getting an education on it over here for Control F for find, and it'll bring up that.
Do that for each minute. You can't do it from the main portal to do a search through for a person.
No, because these are PDF documents
Not
uploaded
yet.
to the agenda. So. See, so I typed in Matthews, he's our chairperson, and of course it highlights the items that are related to Mr. Matthews.
And these boards meet once a month?
Well, we're actually meeting a little more than that now. We have so many cases before them.
Our Contractor Competency Board meets the first Wednesday of every month unless there's a conflict for quorum or holiday. We have called special sessions because of the amount of cases that we have received. And just to let you know, on this page, the meetings page, you can always change the month and the year, so you can look at historical meetings as well and the previous transcripts. So if I wanted to see something from May of 2020, it's there for me to view.
So this is just local. This isn't the state.
That's correct.
So
This
the
is our local.
So the 60-day. So this doesn't alleviate the eliminate the 60-day process possible before we see anything when it goes to state. This is just for local.
So I'll let you know, because on the local level, we have a 20-day appeal window. And of course, we're past that.
So the 30 meeting every 30 days, you guys try to have a board meeting with the state every 30. But the local, these meetings here that you're pulling up are every 30?
That's correct.
Same as the state?
That's correct.
Okay. So we can't see your guys' meetings with the state when the board meets?
Actually, they can.
I mean, you can look it up, you can look at previous ones, and you can also find out when next meetings are gonna be, how much information is posted there. I don't typically go in there and look, because we've already processed a lot of investigation, so I can't tell you exactly what you'll be able to find off of that posting.
I wanted to hop in here. I just want to make sure that these questions were answered, or at least tended to be answered. We had an email come in for the attorney. They were just unable. They're out of town. They were unable to be here today. So this first question, there are a few questions within this one. It goes, how can we get out of a contract for assignment of benefits with our contractor? He has abandoned the construction project. Does that make the contract null and void? Abandonment is for how long? ? They, I guess, had abandoned the project since January of this year.
Well, that's a fact-intensive question that's being asked. Without reviewing the contract and talking to this person, I can't give them chapter and verse on whether this guy's abandoned the contract or whether it can be terminated or not. As we discussed earlier, there is a 90-day window if absolutely no work has been performed. They can invoke that, but otherwise it's going to be a matter of what does their contract say? Did they do anything? And each contract's different. Each case is different. We'd have to know what the facts are to determine whether they could terminate the contract or the assignment, as the case may be.
Next question is, if a contractor's license is revoked, does that automatically make all contracts he signed as a contractor null and void?
Well, if you're not a licensed contractor, you can't enter into a contract. It's not going to be enforceable. Now, you still got to get your money back. He's probably not going to voluntarily write you a check. But if you're not a licensed contractor or a registered contractor, it's illegal to contract in the state of Florida. You can't sue somebody to collect. You can't foreclose a lien, so on and so forth.
And the last ones are you taking any new clients? And if not, do you recommend recommend a lawyer for their contract problem?
My firm is taking new clients on. I'm primarily a transactional attorney in this day and age. But yes, they can contact us, the Moorhead Law Group, and we'd be happy to chat with them about their issue.
Okay, also, I wanted to draw your attention to where you can go to see upcoming meetings of the Contractor Competency Board. The agendas usually go out about a week before the meeting date. And so you can see if any contractor has upcoming hearings. If you navigate to the bottom left-hand corner of the MyEscambia webpage, you see that there is a tile with upcoming events. You can click the View All button. You can filter by meeting type on the left there, and so we're going to select Contractor Competency, and it's going to give you a listing of all of the upcoming meeting dates. And so whenever it populates the agenda, these agendas are, the agenda has not been attached yet because I have not published it, but you see the icon where it says online agenda. That will be once, like I said, about a week before the meeting, it'll populate that agenda for everybody to view.
Question over here.
You can hold it. You can hold it. I got a question for the lawyer.
He wants you to hold the microphone.
Okay, thank you. I got a question for the lawyer. My question is about the insurance companies here in Florida for homeowners. How can the insurance company write you a policy, then turn around when you come back time to renew, they cancel your policy and leave the state?
I mean, it's a matter of contract law. You know, you can't make State Farm write homeowners and policies in Florida if they don't want to. It's just that simple. I mean, they're doing business just like anybody else. You know, if you sell burgers and fries, unless you're discriminating against somebody for race or something, you don't have to sell burgers to people. That's the same with insurance. I mean, they don't have to stay in the marketplace. Now, canceling your policy midstream, that might be another issue, but you know, not renewing your policy, yeah, I don't really know what to tell you about that.
Okay, my second question is, back with the insurance company. Okay, now, with older homes, okay, say like most of us, getting up in the year, okay, you paying insurance on your home, and you turn around and they say, well, come up for renewal again, and they say, well, no, we're not going to renew your policy because your home is too old, okay? Okay, so now what do you do in a case like that?
You're going to have to look for a policy somewhere else. I mean, I am a real estate attorney. I'm not familiar with insurance policy underwriting guidelines. But I mean, again, I don't know that you can force someone to give you insurance. You know, it's sold on the open market, and you're going to have to, you know, buy it from a willing service provider.
Pardon me. I'm sorry. I just kind of came in at the end of this. I want to fishtail off of the license, trying to find a license of a contractor. I'm understanding that we go to the portal and everything. When the contractor gives you his license, is there any way you can just go somewhere besides, you know, just that database and see something immediately? Is this the question you asked? Pretty much, there's no way you could just type in somewhere in a portal just the license number of that contractor and that it'll come up being reviewed for revoked for this or being has been revoked. Is there any?
They've gone through the legal process, you know, and local offices have taken discipline, or the state office, then it should be on the portal somewhere.
Okay, but
now, if somebody's filed a complaint and the complaint's in the process, but legal counsel has not reviewed it, or there's no compliance issues, no orders, then it's not going to show that there's a complaint out there.
Okay, Is there, is
statutorily, we can't do that.
Okay, with a complaint getting ready to be processed, once you pull up the license, can you color code it to maybe yellow for warning? Not stating, I'm serious because you can't, there's got to.
Here's the problem. Even, like for example, I know it's frustrating, folks. I'm telling you, I've been in this for 30 years. I've dealt with thousands and thousands of homeowners, okay? I started in Orlando. I worked in South Florida from 95 to 2011. And then I've been up here ever since, and we went through these last couple of hurricanes, or however more you want to count. It's frustrating. It takes time. We have guys in the 14th district in the state attorney's office have been charged with 15 to 20 felonies. They still haven't gone to court. But it's alleged that they theft, fraud, or whatever. And we investigate a lot of that. And from an investigator standpoint, we're pretty confident he stole it or she stole it and stole money. But guess what? They haven't even gone to trial yet. And it's frustrating. So the problem is we just have to try to communicate as best we can with local authorities, state authorities, and we talk to people a lot. Part of our investigative job is to go out and do outreaches. We do hundreds of outreaches a year and, take questions and meet with groups and people. We go see the building officials, and we try to make sure we're doing our best to stay ahead of the curve on troublemakers. But in terms of a legal process, the wheels turn slowly, whether you're talking about administratively or criminally. And like this young lady over here said, everybody has due process.
I can tell you, we receive a lot of complaints that really don't go to the board. Somebody painted the house the wrong color, and that's a civil issue. The contractor painted it the wrong color, and may even agree that he painted it the wrong color, but it's really a civil issue, and it doesn't go before the competency board.
But the thing is, my thing is, if I had any idea, I wouldn't have gave this man all my money. And I could have looked his number up and saw that he was flagged. Not saying that he's been charged, but he's being reviewed for something. I wouldn't have never gave this man all my money. I'm now I gave this man all my money, and I'm finding out he's been doing this for years. What as far as a homeowner, what kind of protection or alerts do we get? That's my whole thing about this, where you're falling down to me at. The homeowner has to have some kind of warning that this person may not be convicted, but there's a warning. So I wouldn't have never went to this man. I wouldn't have went to anybody if I known he was flagged.
And I'd be just like you, but I do know there's, legal issues with, putting things out before they're official. But I'd be just like you. I would want that.
So the competency board is not really protecting the homeowners. Yes, you are due diligent. Anybody go to court, due process. I understand all that. But in due process, even after a sex offender gets whatever arrested or someone posted or whatever, some kind of warning is done. And once he's charged and the address and everything is given, we have no forewarning. Has this person done something like this before in any other county? What's the point of checking their licenses and stuff if we don't get any updated information? What's the point? And the competency board, what's your point?
Well, I guess I really don't have a good answer. It's just eventually it gets done. I know that's not good.
There's a hole there that really needs to be filled. I'm sorry.
And you can always, like I'm trying to help you to navigate, you can always check previous minutes, previous transcripts. You can always look at future ones like it's near the time frame of when you're contracting, and you can always contact us. My licensing specialists do this all day, every day. They can tell you if there's ever been any complaint that has led to a final order, and we can provide you with those public records.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get an understanding of this permanent thing. So if the contractor doesn't do, as you say, it depends on how your terminology of work. So if he comes in and put a nail in the board, to him, that's work. And if he lets that permit expire, I know there's a process for him to go back and get another permit. And he has to have a due process of why he needs another permit, a reason.
Well, he more than likely he would apply to reinstate that permit.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's good cause, then it gets reinstated for 90 days.
So good cause could be rain. I can't do anything because it's rain, but what does the homeowner do?
I'm sorry?
What does the homeowner do? If he says, I can't do anything because of the rain, or I can't do anything because my workers are sick, and the permit expires, and you have a home and you're living in this home, maybe it's rented, and you told the renter or the person that you're renting from, hey, I'll be out by 6 months.
Yeah.
And 6 months is here, and they're looking for you to move, and your home is not ready.
Right. I can just tell you that a permit's good for 6 months. Without action, it would expire, but he can apply, or he or she could apply for
An extension?
An extension, and it has to be in writing, and it has to be a good reason.
And if he sits on that another, how many months will you give him then? Another 6 months?
Well, he could pull another permit.
And instead of another 6 months?
Just having the extension just keeps him from paying for a new permit, really.
And keep in mind what Mr. Maygarden stressed earlier. Once you enter into a contract with a contractor, you have to stay on top of that contract. You have to communicate with that contractor and request updates. And as it continues, and if it continues to go south, there is the formal complaint process to assist you.
Okay, thank you.
And Melissa, like I said, she's sitting right there and can assist.
He's coming. All right. I know we had a hand up over here, and then we had a gentleman over here, so we'll go in order. Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to add is that I wouldn't say terminate a permit for a contractor without maybe getting some advice to make sure you're not doing something within your contract. But a homeowner always has the right to say enough is enough, and you can terminate that permit. Again, I'd make sure you're not doing something legally against your contract, but you can take some control there.
I'd like to say something about that too, to support that. I know it can be real frustrating because I've heard it not only tonight, but for years. Please, if you're in the middle embroiled in a dispute with your contractor without going through an attorney, please do not terminate that contract. Because once you've done that, our department and essentially the local disciplinary board has no control over it any longer, because if you terminate the contract, it has now become a civil matter and you're going to have to resolve it in court. And like this gentleman said earlier, if you have to go to court, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So please, before you do it, terminate it. You try to work with them, but then you go see an attorney and follow exactly what 489 or 126 says. You got to give them 30-day notice letters. You got to follow the law to the T, and an attorney can help you do it. But please, don't terminate a contract on your own, because if you do, you just made it pure civil, and you'll have to try to resolve it in court.
What about when you need to have work done, like a hole in the roof, and that contractor's not ever going to show up? And can you sub it out with someone else and get the work done?
Well, first of all, if the contractor never shows up after you gave them a deposit, like earlier we were talking about, if it's over 10%, I would contact law enforcement, because if that's the case, never pulled a permit, never showed up, never worked, that's theft. If they collect over 10%, that is theft.
Question about getting the work done without the person that's not doing the work that you paid. You understand?
Well, here's what happens if you do that. If you entered into a contract with them and you gave them money, but they've never showed up, and you go out and get another contract, they're going to keep that money.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna get
Now
that
you can
anyway.
try to get it back from them, but they're going to keep the money and say you violated the
I just want
contract.
to make sure I'm not putting the new person, the new sub, in jeopardy.
Well, if they never pulled a permit, etc., then more than likely you can get another contract. If that contractor, that's what you want to do, they'll go down and see Tim and them at the building department, and they can pull a permit.
And you see if I got a hole in my roof, I need help, right? Yes. Yes, thank you.
From a strictly legal standpoint, if one contractor breaches the contract, you can, under some circumstances, emphasize, highlight, underscore, terminate the contractor and go get a new contractor to complete the work. You may also be able to sue the prior contractor, but he's not going to give you the money back to the point. You're going to have to sue him.
Terminating the contract that I signed and I gave money for it. I'm never going to talk to that person again. And I'm not ever going to get the money back. I'm talking about getting the work done.
Yeah, if they've breached the contract, you got to go engage other forces to finish the work, without question. And I would go so far as to say that you're going to be under a duty to mitigate your damages if you did intend to sue the other contractor. So you need to be reasonably diligent about getting the new guy on the case before the leak turns into an absolute catastrophe and the roof falls in and so on and so forth.
I just wondered if they're going to avoid me because I got embroiled in this situation.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to talk to them about it, be upfront with them, and explain your dilemma.
That's right.
Because there are a lot of contractors that don't want to mess with it. They're already under contract. But a lot of times that's if they've already permitted the job.
Yeah, if they've already stiffed subcontractors, for example, or they've stiffed suppliers, you have a huge problem. I mean, you're going to have to woo and seduce people back to your job because now the thing's already gone into a ditch. So just bear that in mind for whatever it's worth.
We have a question over here.
Suppose I want to hire Chris, the contractor. Can I go on the site, look at the recent permits he's pulled, contact those people and see if they liked the job he did?
I don't know why you couldn't. You could certainly get references from them. I don't know anything that would prohibit you if you could identify people for whom the contractor has done work from contact. I think you can contact them. It's not confidential financial information or medical information that would be confidential under the law. Obviously, your questions would be, was it on time, was it on budget, and was it quality work? But yeah, that's a great idea if you can find that out. I go further, and if somebody's got a contractor license, they may have a relatively clear background. But somebody mentioned Florida public records earlier. We have very broad public records laws in the state of Florida. If you find out who the owner of a company is or the qualifying agent, you can run them through court records. And though it may not pertain to contracting, I would suggest to you that if someone has been evicted or foreclosed upon or has credit card debt, you may not want to let them handle your money. Now, again, I don't know how they would have a contractor license, but you never know. So just for whatever it's worth.
Is there any reason why a contractor would object to you taking a picture of their license and the permit? Is there some kind of a reason they wouldn't want you to take a picture of their license?
I can't think of one.
I would hope not. I mean,
If they do, I guess you ought to run.
yeah. For statewide, they're supposed to have that license number on every contract they enter into anyway. So you would have that license number at least on the contract. And when you did some background check, you could actually compare that license number, the name it's in, as to who the person is that came out and negotiated the deal. A lot of times you may find that there's a salesman. It's not the contractor. So you got to be careful, and you have to do some homework with respect to matching up people, the names of the people you're dealing with, and the license number they have on the contract.
Is it legal for Chris, the contractor's brother, to go out and solicit work using his brother's license?
If he's an officer or an employee of the company, he can do that.
But he has to be employed,
Generally speaking, yes.
not just visiting from Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of times owners of a company, they're not licensed, but they own the company, and they're an officer or just the outright owner. They can utilize and work and do everything underneath the license of the license holder.
One thing you might want to do, so a company is qualified, they have a qualifying agent. That's who qualifies the company to engage in the business of contracting. If the company's in Escambia County, but the qualifying agent is in Miami-Dade County, you may want to ask a question or two about that, just for whatever it's worth. I mean, they're obviously not here, right? I mean, we're as close to Chicago as we are to Miami. So that's the sort of thing you might want to check into and find out about.
Any more questions?
When do you all have your meetings? You said you have monthly meetings. What date are they held on?
Ours are the second, you're talking,
DVPR. I got y'all.
I think ours are normally, boards are different, but normally they're like the middle of the month, sometimes the third week, but they're monthly.
Third Wednesday, I believe you said, right? Wednesday.
Yeah, so
that's CCB.
our boards,
CILB.
our board meetings are on usually a Wednesday, Thursday, half a day Friday. So, there's just a lot of license holders they look at.
Chris, what are the main penalties that you come across with contractors?
Aiding and assisting unlicensed contracting, which would mean basically they're just pulling permits for companies. It's very difficult for us to prove abandonment. That's what I brought up the idea of, okay, what's the definition of work? Our general counsel will tell us, has told us, the investigative staff for years, it's very difficult for us to prove abandonment.
What about not following building codes?
Well, building code generally falls under the building department, and they follow the building code, and they would be disciplined locally for that if they are a registered contractor. If they're a state certified contractor, we have permitting and inspection issues. We give them citations, but you know what? Even in my own mind, the penalties for permitting and inspection matters is not stiff enough, but permitting and inspections is a lot of violations.
And what happens to the contractor? What kind of fines or discipline action?
Well, I mean, like for example, first offense, we may fine them $100, and then you got to go out and pull a permit and get all the required inspections. But also that process, we had the support of the local building departments, because the building departments essentially, after 6 months, they're going to know this permit's expired. They're going to go through and look at their processes, because there's various interim or subtype of permits, whether electric, plumbing, rough, mid-roof nail inspections. There's just so many different inspections. So, it takes both of our offices just to kind of work together to, work permitting and inspection process through.
What about the general upkeep of the land around the building area?
We don't have any statutes or rule violations that talk about
keeping the silt. I mean, when you look at the construction going down 98, they're very diligent about having fences up for the silt, not to mitigate.
That's on the highway.
That's going to be a local land use regulation. And if it's private property, that's a local land use regulation. The inspection departments don't do that.
DOT puts that stuff up because that's public highway.
Well, it's required around housing.
Yeah, whatever, that's a local land use requirement, and it could be different in every jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions don't have that requirement.
But it's not required by the state.
We don't have a compliance issue that I've ever seen where we go out and look and see that they haven't kept the land, in compliance while they're building the property.
But you would have, if it was building a wall, the conservation easement wall, is that in compliance?
Hey, Chris, just because I know we had that question earlier and I wanted to make sure before we ran out of time that we got this information out there. The Construction Industry Licensing Board, their meetings are also available to you on the internet. You can go to myfloridalicense.com, and on their main page, they have that search window in the very middle of the page. If you search Construction Industry Licensing Board, it'll bring up the option to see their board meetings. And sorry, I apologize. You can see their upcoming meetings and their past meetings. If you click on the individual meetings, if the agenda is ready, it's grayed out right now because it's not ready just yet. But if it's ready, it'll be there for you to view. So you can also see if a contractor is on an upcoming meeting of the Construction Industry Licensing Board. If you scroll down a little bit, it says past meetings, and you can view there if a license holder has been previously disciplined by the Construction Industry Licensing Board.
Okay, if I put a permit as a building or owner builder, do I have to request the working compensation for every contractor that I get?
You should.
I should?
Yeah, because if they get hurt, then you could be liable for that.
I'd be liable.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my point.
We're going maybe 2 more questions. We got to get some employees out of here because they got to be at work early in the morning. So, but if you have any additional questions after these 2, you can contact our office and we'll try to help you.
Okay. Well, I've changed the first question I was going to ask, but with your website, you said that we can go through and look at past minutes to see if a contractor has been disciplined. Is there an easy way other than opening up, looking through the whole minutes, closing, opening up? Is there a way to, I don't know, Google his name, his company, anything?
The most easy method of getting information on a contractor is to contact us. We are here for you. That is our service to the community. We can give you that information way easier than you spending time trying to navigate and find it yourself. Okay. I have 2 licensing specialists that do this all day long, and they would love to be able to assist you on the front end instead of trying to help you on the back end of this.
Okay. I think what we're all looking for is, so, like if you get a ticket and it goes to court and you just get your ticket, your insurance company knows immediately because apparently there's some mega database out there that goes, you were speeding down 90. Because I know I've gotten those. Y'all need the same system that the driver's license people have, or traffic court has, to get that information out. True, they still have their state license, but Santa Rosa or Escambia County does not let them work in their county anymore, and that would really help out a lot of other people. They're not convicted by the state, but Escambia County doesn't want anything to do with them.
That's a very good suggestion.
And that would be a great suggestion. It's like license license still active, currently not allowed in Escambia, Santa Rosa. Take your chances. Yeah, that's kind of sort of color coding it yellow.
All right, one more question over here.
Okay, she said for us to call the office and she would gladly help us out and give us the information on the contractors. Can you ethically or legally tell us if we give you a contractor's name, can you say, yeah, his license is still valid, but you might want to steer clear from that guy? What's the black and white there?
We cannot provide an opinion on whether you should or should not utilize their services. We can give you fact. if they have had complaints filed against them, if it resulted in final orders.
If we want to keep our jobs, we would not do that.
So you can tell us if they had a complaint with the final order, but you can't tell us if they just had a complaint and it's.
If it went to a hearing, we can give you the results of the hearing. If it did not go to a hearing before the Contractor Competency Board because it did not pertain to what the Contractor Competency Board is allowed to discipline for, then no, we wouldn't be able to provide you with that. But if it made it to a hearing, that is all public record.
Thank you.
We just asked, can you let us know if something is open that a decision hadn't been made yet?
Well, again, I mean, they may be innocent.
I understand that, but can you let us know if it's open?
I'm going to defer that to the county attorney, which we can ask the question and get back with you.
Can you
Make sure you give us your contact information before you leave. We'll get back with you.
Can you let us know if it's open, because this is how all of us got bamboozled. So is there any way that you can kind of let us know if there's something pending? That's the main thing. If there's something pending, it hasn't been a final order, but if we're aware that there's something pending, automatically we're going to red flag it.
When you say pending, that means
Have a complaint.
a complaint. Again, we'll take your information and we'll ask the county attorney the question. And get back
So,
with you.
and just to let you know, once it has been determined that there's probable cause, that is public record. And how we do that is a formal hearing process. So if it's in the investigation phase, then no, we cannot. It's still under investigation. The minute that it is deemed to have probable cause means it's on an agenda for a hearing, and yes. And those agendas are published.
But that might take several weeks to make that decision.
So I will let you know, when a complaint comes into our office, it typically takes a 1 month window for investigation. That's typical. If it needs further investigation, it might take a little longer.
But we'll double check on what information we can get out, we can put out, and we get your information, we'll let you know.
Can you make this part of your FAQs? So we can look at your FAQs on department activities or questions.
What's that?
So we'll know that the pending process doesn't exist, the yellow marking, or, you know, our topic that we're talking about right now.
Sure.
Something to explain that we have these categories that we'll highlight, and and that's what we're limited to for these reasons.
Okay, yeah, we can ask the question, make sure we get your contact information, we can ask the question. I can't speak for the county attorney. And
So
FAQ on your website?
Tim,
Frequently asked questions?
just to let them know, on that formal complaint form, that first page tells you what the Contractor Competency Board has the ability to discipline for. It's on the very front page.
I have those, I have several of them. But I'm not asking about discipline, I'm asking about knowledge.
yeah, we can't answer that right now. We'll have to get back with you.
I'm curious. Out of curiosity, Chris, the contractor over here that took somebody for $40,000, how long did it take from when you filed the complaint till he got disciplined and lost his license? Is she still here?
No, she was Santa Rosa.
Oh, she was Santa Rosa? Okay, never mind. I was just curious as to how long that process usually takes when you complain about somebody, how long before they are actually disciplined? Because I'm a real estate agent here in this area, and I have to deal with a lot of title searches, and all of a sudden, oh, well, you know, Bob the builder Rob the roofer, put on your roof. Rob did not pull a contract or did not pull a permit or did not close out a permit.
Yeah.
And then it causes all kinds of problems when you're going to close your home.
Yeah.
And,
And he's now out of business and can't close the permit.
Right.
So we receive that request on a daily basis via email and on the phone. So-and-so did not close out their permit, or so-and-so did not obtain the permit. We have an unpermitted division that notifies that contractor, hey, you need to get a permit in here. They're trying to sell this home and it needs to be inspected. If they did not get their inspection, we have, if it's expired, we have the reinstatement process and then they can obtain their inspection. If it's an older permit, we're talking in excess of 6 years old, because I know this comes up often with insurance and title companies, then we have a process by which it can be administratively closed if it presents no safety hazard, and that contractor signs an affidavit swearing to that.
Yeah.
So there are processes, and we're here to help you whenever you need the help with it.
If the permit is still open and the contractor has been, we'll say, disciplined and has left, and from Jacksonville, how does a homeowner close out that permit without that contractor that opened the permit?
So there's varying levels of discipline. If you're going the ultimate and saying that the license is revoked, he does not have the license to finish that contract out. How we've been handling it currently with this situation, we've reviewed their licenses and we put those permits at a void status, a holding status. It's going to be determined by your building official on how it should proceed. You know, it depends on the stage of where they were at in the project. Was any work ever done, or was it mostly completed? So it's a case by case scenario.
Was any inspections done, for example?
So, like in this particular situation, my client had an air conditioner put in. She thought everything was done. Permit pulled. She knew that. She paid for it. She also paid for it to be closed out. And the air conditioner was, you know, and we're just doing normal things. You know, the title search comes back with, hey, this title, this permit has not been completed. It has not been closed out.
Yeah, they didn't get a final
And she's
inspection.
like, yes, it has. And I'm like, no, it hadn't. I can see it right here on the internet. Because a lot of people don't know to always check, make sure your permits are closed out. Follow up. Don't trust them.
Well, the way I understand it, they just have to disclose that. I mean, it doesn't kill the sale. It's just, it could be used as a negotiation tool, probably.
Right. But what ends up happening is if that's not closed out, then my client gets, if that contractor is no longer here anymore, then who closes out that contract? Because if you void it, then the insurance company has a problem with it. And the lender has a problem with it because, well, this, your air conditioner. And so lots of people have problems with them not being closed out because it has to go through lending and insurance.
Right.
Also, who can close that out without, we'll say, voiding it? Can the homeowner themselves call the city and say, hey, can you please come inspect this so this can be closed out?
Someone would have to pull a new permit, and it would have to meet the new requirements. And a lot of problems with roofs is they were put on before the requirements changed, and there's no way to enforce the new requirements on an old roof that's already there. That's a problem.
And there's no way to inspect it under the old standards because this would have been the standards 6 years ago, but the standards have changed now.
I can just tell you what I've seen work. You could hire a private inspector or engineer, architect to do an inspection on it, and they could issue an affidavit that states that it meets the requirements at the time it was put on. But it may not meet the new requirements, but most of the time that works.
Okay, but that will close out the permit?
Well, it depends on the insurance company or mortgage company, whoever, but I've seen that work almost every time.
Okay.
Can I ask a question then? How do I have my wife sell my house when I got a wall that didn't have a permit pulled, a wall that was built and the county walked around it and didn't ask for a permit, a wall that's failed and no one's ever inspected it. And so how do we solve that issue when it's time to sell the house?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's something that
That's
depends
amazing.
on how much you ask for the house, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's no requirement for those permits to be finalized out for a sale. We don't have any requirement we enforce.
Well, you gotta have.
We have no regulation over that, so I don't know.
Well, you gotta have a wall on a wetland.
We don't regulate wetlands in the inspection department. I have no idea. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up, and appreciate everybody coming. And please get with us if you have more questions. If we can get your contact information, we're happy to give you a call and answer your questions. So everybody, be careful going home.